Welcome to the week ahead for financial markets. Mike Smith, Senior Analyst and Head of Client Education and Trading with you today to lead you around what's going to happen over the next 5 days that may influence market sentiment. And as always, we've identified 5 market moving factors that we think are worth keeping on your radar during the course of the week. Of course, major indices are still kicking around record highs. Big tech continues to outperform. Certainly, the news that AMD and Nvidia are allowed to export semiconductors to China was influential, but quite spectacular, despite everything that major indices are where they are. Of course, questions will be asked about valuations, and with US earnings ramping up this week after around about 12% of the S&P 500 reporting so far. A staggering 83% so far are beating EPS expectations, but of course it is early days. This is the week and next week where things really ramp up and we should get some numbers and we can make judgments on whether current levels are justified. Of course, trade talks are going to remain a headline act. Tariff impact is still market chatter almost on a daily basis, depending on what's, of course, published on Truth Social. August the 1st is looming. That was the last date that appears to be a date of significance where many tariffs come into effect. Of course, shortly after that, we'll be revisiting China as their 90-day pause expires. Always worth keeping an eye on, of course. The copper surge is potentially continuing. We saw another bounce on Friday to support this tariff-induced rally, which of course started subsequent to the announcement that there will be a 50% import tariff on copper that entered the US. Let's just have a look at a chart right now. And you can see here we had this significant move to the upside up to 563. This was a record high, and then a gradual pullback only to see the buyers come back in on Friday. This looked as though it was potentially likely to happen with a 5-week test of 548. So the question remains, is there enough buying momentum to take it over that 563? Certainly one worth keeping an eye on. And finally, of course, the Fed remains under pressure. Certainly comments from Trump in the direction of Jerome Powell weren't exactly complimentary, with the US administration wanting a rate cut ASAP. And of course, the market's not pricing in a cut at best until September. And even then, the chances of that have diminished. It's around about 50-50 at the moment. So again, anything on that will be noteworthy. Powell does have a couple of speeches this week that may influence that sentiment if there's any more clues in what he says. So there's your 5 things to keep an eye on this week. Of course, you can join us on our live market updates on Monday and Thursday, live on YouTube, and likewise with our Inner Circle session on Wednesday, where this week we may take a deeper dive into using AI for trading development. It'd be good to see you either. And of course, our support team are always ready to help with anything that you need us to. Have a great week. Trade safe and see you again soon. Bye bye for now.